not knowing price is a real frustration. Like, I think that's something that I did not think about as readily until being in this role. Not knowing price is so frustrating, because even in Western culture, we don't really, it's most times, if I want an iPhone, okay, there's a price associated to it. I don't really have to haggle that situation. With CarMax, they're killing it, right? Because of the fact that there's no haggle pricing. I know that if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for John down the street, it's good enough for Jane down the street, and it looks like, okay, this is the value that they set for that car, and I have to now decide if I want to now get that car. I don't have to worry about if Timmy, the car salesman, is just coming to see me because I'm by myself and I have no idea what the price looks like, and they're going to try to get over on me.
And this is, and I'm glad you brought this stuff up, because this is, I just went away for a few days. I was there, I was in a resort. It was really nice, with my dad and Derek Johnson, and both of they run the CSA, the Contractor Sales Academy, and we're sitting there, we're talking about some sales stuff, and essentially the dilemma, or what was going on, was Derek was dealing with somebody wanted something from him, right? And he was saying, how would you price this? How would you go about it? And the scenario was essentially that the person wanted a patio, right? And Derek said, okay, to us, he's like, well, I could do it, but if I'm already out there, I'd rather just do it because we're already on the job right now. And it's much easier because it keeps costs down for me, because I don't have to scramble a crew to do it all. They're already there. So he was saying to us, how would you position this? How would you go back to the homeowner and say, this is what it's going to cost, but if you just allow us to do it now, we'll do it for X amount. And we're trying to figure out a price for this thing, because if you just went off straight materials, then it would be very cheap. But we don't sell on materials, we sell on value, right? What's this worth it to them? So they do a little bit more custom. But one of the things that I was talking to him was, no matter what you price it at, if the homeowner says, okay, great, done, and there's no like, wow, that's a lot more money than I thought it was, okay, fine, where it sounds like, okay, cool, like that was, you know what they want to pay, there's always going to be meat on the bone left. But with us, the way that we price stuff is, we don't price stuff necessarily for our own stuff, our own services here at CGN. We don't say, okay, what's the most amount of money somebody will pay? We have pricing where I know for some people it's a stretch, and for others, we just finished up a website for somebody, and I remember it was so funny. You talked to him and you said, what do you think this is going to cost? And he said a number twice as much as what we charge. So you're going to have those as well, where some people are going to, push for it, and other people are going to go, oh, wow, thank God, that was less. But for us, we're making the numbers that we need to make. We're happy with the numbers, and I'm good with that. I'm good with not looking at this as, oh, we could have squeezed X amount more, because, like, it's a standard price for a reason. Like, we have a formula on why we price it as such, and if it gets to the point where we have way too many people coming in, then we realize, okay, maybe we are giving away too much for this, and we'll raise the prices again. But right now we're good. So I don't look at this as like, well, every job is different. Yes, in the contracting space, every job is going to be a little bit more different for you, but to at least know ballpark pricing on all your stuff is so helpful, because I can't tell you how many people I ask, well, what's your average cost for this? And they have no idea. Well, I can't do that number. Well, why not? Well, I don't know this, I don't know that. But then when we actually talk about it for literally 2 minutes, we come up with an average, and they don't realize that their 25 years of experience allows them to throw out a number. So with that being said, you all have these numbers. You all have these averages. You all have how stuff works. And the more that you can guide people through all the basic FAQs, which, again, if you want to go, well, how do I actually do this stuff? Go read They Ask You Answer. Like, I could sit here on this podcast and try to spend an hour just saying, here's all the different things that he says to do, but just go read that book. They Ask You Answer. It's on Audible. It's a Marcus Sheridan book. And I know for us, the more that we can address stuff up front, it's scary at first because you're putting all your business out there, but that's the new game. You're no longer, hey, I'm really good at tiling, backsplash, like that's my jam. Well, now you're really good at that, and you're really good at being transparent with customers. And if there's two different designers and they're both really good at doing backsplashes, but one is very upfront about everything and one seems very secretive, who do you think they're going to go with?
The person that is upfront, because the secretive person comes off as there's a level of non-understanding, and it may come off as, hey, this guy's trying to get over on me.
Yeah.
And like, even like, let's say right now someone wanted to know how much does it cost to work with you guys? If we have it clearly laid out on our website. We have it clearly laid out on our website, so that when people go to the website and they say, hey, Chris, well, I'm looking at your, your average package. It's going to cost me $10,800. That's what I'm looking for. That's okay. Well, let's talk about that. What were you hoping that package could do for you? So we don't want to just sell you something that's, not the right thing for you. But when they have an understanding what that price already is, then that it's so much easier. Now, I will also say, if you throw out a number and you don't show the value of it, you put yourself in a bind. What are your thoughts on that?
It's all about presentation.
Yep.
And let me give you an example. You may build or remodel like the nicest kitchens, but if your final, check out this $150,000 kitchen, and then you take the final pictures on your phone that's smudged and there's in the photo, it's not going to have the same presentation as a professionally shot, professionally lit, staged photo. So think about that visual for a second. Think about the nicest project that you've ever done. And think about how you could show that picture to people, to clients, if all you have is your phone and it's a little bit up, a little bit off axis, a little bit this, versus if you showed them a really high-end photo of it that was really nice. And we've seen this before. I remember Andrew at Premiere, they had a client who she said, like, yeah, honestly, like my budget for these outdoor lights are anywhere between 5 and 13. And then Andrew showed her just professionally shot photos of a really nice lit up backyard, and I think it went above 13. And the reason that I bring this up is it's not just about putting prices on your website. It's how it's all presented as well. Because if you just throw a number out there, great, you're transparent. And this is, I guess, the whole caveat to all this is what we are doing right now. It's unfortunate, and my goal is not to make it seem and feel easier said than done. The goal is to open your eyes to this concept. You're just like you're a contractor, and we all get pissed at homeowners who try to DIY everything. Well, you're a contractor. You're not meant to build your own website, right? Yes, you got to have something in the early days, but it starts to get to this point where if what you're presenting online is total shit compared to what it is that you do, you will not get the high-end customers. And when you present these FAQs, if they're not phrased and set up in the right way, then it's confusing. Because sometimes if you are higher priced, you have to justify why. We're not saying go all defensive. And I've heard some people say never justify your price. I think that's I think my dad said that for a while. He might still do that. I'm in the different camp. I'm like, hey, if you got to justify it. And I'm not saying break down your material and labor costs. All I'm saying is you got to know a couple things of why why this is priced as such. So that's how I'm a big fan of that, where you just give enough so that they're like, okay, cool, that makes sense. Because sometimes people just want to know, because we got to realize that for our services, as a small business owner, we all set our own prices. So it's all subjective for the most part to the homeowner's eyes. Because if we're like, well, our numbers are set up because we have to make 50% gross profit margin, well, that's great for us. But for the homeowner, that's not their problem, what we make. So you got to realize that if you just throw your price out there and say, this is this much, it might turn you into a menu. This is something that we talk about in Common Sense Contracting, our Facebook group, which if you're not part of that, make sure you go on Facebook, check it out, because we talk about these concepts. We walk through how to do it properly, because the last thing that you want to do is price yourself out of the market, not because of the actual price, because it's all value, right? I don't think, now I don't know enough about it, but I don't think like a Lamborghini, which cost, let's say $1 million, versus a really nice, really high-end Mercedes, which is $100,000. I don't think Lamborghini has 10 times as more expensive technology, and the car itself is 10 times more. I think it's because of the name, the status that comes with it. People are willing to pay more for it. So it's not I'm not saying in this case that you're going to price yourself out of the market, because there's always a market regardless of what the actual price point is. It's just how good are you at showing the value, so somebody goes, oh, okay, I will pay that price because of X, Y, and Z.